host a summit on community colleges at the White House this fall, and we're going to bring everybody together, from educators to students, experts to business leaders. We are going to bring everybody together to share innovative ideas about how we can help students earn degrees and credentials, and to forge private sector partnerships so we can better prepare America's workforce and America's workers to succeed in the 21st century. Now, to help open the doors of higher education to more students, we'll also reinvest part of that $68 billion in savings in Pell Grants, one of the most popular forms of financial aid. Pell Grants once covered more than 3/4 of the cost of going to college. But now, because the cost of college has skyrocketed, the amount of Pell Grants cover is about 1/3. Today, students hoping to attend college on a Pell Grant are going to be able to feel more secure, because not only are we going to offer over 800,000 additional Pell Awards over the next 10 years, we're also going to raise the amount they're worth to almost $6,000 so that inflation does not erode the value of your grant. And we'll put the entire Pell Grant program on firmer footing for years to come. Altogether, we are more than doubling the amount of Pell Grant funding that was available when I took office. It's one of the most significant investments in higher education since the GI Bill. Now, third, we're going to restore a measure of fairness to how students repay their loans. Today, 2 out of every 3 students graduates with help from a loan, and often they take on a mountain of debt as a result. Here in Virginia, the typical student carries almost $20,000 in debt. Across the country, the average student graduates with over $23,000 in debt. I know what that's like. Michelle and I had big debts coming out of school. Debts we weren't able to fully repay until just a few years before I started running for office. Today, we're making it easier for responsible students to pay off their loans. Right now, if you're a borrower, you don't have to spend more than 15% of your income on loans. But starting in 2014, you won't have to pay more than 10% of your income in repaying your student loans. That will make a meaningful difference for over 1 million more students. We're also going to give students an incentive to do what's right. If you pay your loans on time, you'll only have to pay them off for 20 years. And you'll only have to pay them off for 10 years if you repay them with service to your community and to our country, as a teacher or a nurse or a member of our armed forces. Finally, we'll reinvest some of the $68 billion in savings to strengthen our historically black colleges and universities and minority-serving institutions. These are institutions that have struggled more than most in these tough economic times. The reforms in this bill are significant, but they're just part of a broader effort to strengthen our entire higher education system. We're putting college tuition tax credits in the pockets of millions of students from working families to help them pay for college. We've taken steps to simplify the federal college assistance form, called the FAFSA, because it shouldn't take a PhD to apply for financial aid. And we're helping ensure that America's high school graduates are ready for college. All of this is paid for. We're redirecting money that was poorly spent to make sure we're making investments in our future. Now, this won't solve all of our problems in higher education. We continue to expect colleges and universities to do their part to hold down tuition increases. That has to happen. We've got to work on that. And we also need to take greater initiative not only to help more students enter college. We've got to make sure that we see more students successfully earn a college degree. But what we've done over the past year represents enormous progress. So I'll close by saying this. For a long time, our student loan system has worked for banks and financial institutions. Today, we're finally making our student loan system work for students and our families. But we're also doing something more. From the moment I was sworn into office, I've spoken about the urgent need for us to lay a new foundation for our economy and for our future. And two pillars of that foundation are health care and education, and each has long suffered from problems that we chose to kick down the road. With the bill I signed last week, we finally undertook meaningful reform of our health care system. With this bill and other steps we've pursued over the last year, we are finally undertaking meaningful reform in our higher education system. So this week, we can rightly say the foundation on which America's future will be built is stronger than it was 1 year ago. And so at the end of this extraordinary week, I want to acknowledge some of the people who made it possible. There isn't time to single out everyone who's here, outstanding members of Congress, but I want to make sure I once again say this would not have happened had it not been for the leadership of Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, Senator Dick Durbin, and Congressman Steny Hoyer. All provided outstanding leadership that our nation needed. On health care, Max Baucus, Chris Dodd, Henry Waxman, Charlie Rangel, and so many others offered invaluable expertise throughout the year. Congressman George Miller, Jim Clyburn, Dale Kildee, Ruben Hinojosa led the way in the House on education reforms that I signed today. Senator Tom Harkin's dedication ensured that the Senate would include these reforms in this bill. Virginia's own Bobby Scott and an outstanding freshman, Tom Perriello, helped to make this thing possible. We are grateful to them. Now, courage is an essential ingredient in any landmark legislation, particularly when the attacks are as fierce and unrelenting and inaccurate as they have been over the past year. So I just want to commend members of Congress who had the courage to do what's right, and to say a special thank you to all the newer members. You know, the past couple of years have brought one challenge after another, and you've risen to the moment each time. I could not be prouder of the work that all of you have done. And it would not have happened had it not been for the incredible persistence and stick-to-itiveness of all the folks in the audience here today. You know, ultimately, Congress responds to the voices that they're hearing in their communities. And so many of you have written letters and come to meetings and let people know of the ordinary struggles that people are going through each and every day. You're what provided members of Congress the courage that they needed to do what was right. And so, on behalf of all of us who are serving in Washington, we want to thank you, the American people, for your outstanding leadership. And with that, I'm going to sign this bill. Thank you very much.